Welcome back, guys. I'm going to be sharing with you how to properly weight cut for competition. So whether you're a bodybuilder preparing for a show, a powerlifter preparing for a meet, or a fighter preparing for a fight, the way to drop weight is very universal regardless of your sport. Now, a general rule of thumb is you don't want to be dropping 5 to 8% of your body weight in fluid, especially the week before and especially the day before. You don't want to be doing that. It's too much. However, it is possible. You even have professionals do more than 8% the day before weigh-in. Now, personally for me, the most I ever dropped was 9% of my body weight in a 36-hour time period, and I dropped about 13.6 pounds of body weight, and I wound up taking first place in my powerlifting meet. So you can do it. However, it's very hard to do, and it's hard to do correctly. I've had other people that I've competed with, I've tried to put them through similar weight cuts that I went through, and most of them had to tap out and were throwing up and couldn't do it. So not only is there a big health concern when you drop 5 to 8% of your body weight in such a short amount of time and fluid, but you also have to have the grit and mental resilience to put yourself through that, especially before a competition or a fight. And then after weigh-ins, you're going to have to properly rehydrate, or else you're going to experience performance or strength loss due to the dehydration process or the weight cut that you've put yourself through. So most professionals plan in advance. They're not cutting 5 to 8% or more in body weight the day before weigh-in because they planned this out weeks in advance. They started introducing a caloric restriction, putting themselves in a caloric deficit where they naturally start losing weight very slowly, and usually would increase their protein intake to help mitigate the amount of muscle loss. And if you want to learn how to properly diet and lose weight, click this link above. However, most professionals, to be able to make weight, usually get themselves on a diet 3 to maybe 2 months before competition. So if your show, meet, fight, whatever it is a few months out, maybe start looking at getting yourself on a diet and start bringing your weight down. And that way it's a lot less strenuous and a lot less work you have to do last minute. Now, speaking of nutrition, on your second week out from competition, you're going to make sure you're getting enough fluid in, maybe even excess hydration to some extent. And when it becomes 5 days out, you're not only going to start restricting a little bit of your water intake, but you're also going to start depleting your glycogen storage by decreasing the amount of carbohydrates you're consuming and the amount of sodium you're intaking. So that's going to help you drop a lot of excess water. And when you get to 5 days out, you don't wind up depleting your glycogen storage by limiting the amount of carbohydrates you're consuming and the amount of sodium. And that's just going to help overall water retention go down. You're going to help you drop a lot of water very quickly by introducing a low carb, low sodium diet. Now, when you're 2 days away from your weigh-in, you're going to be limiting your water a little bit on your second day. On that first day, the day before weigh-in, you're going to be taking sips of water. And instead of water, I want you to be sipping on Pedialyte. When you sip on something, you want to make sure you're sipping on Pedialyte, swishing your mouth, very small amounts of water. I was really using my water bottle cap to pour water into and be able to sip just a little bit when I was running on a treadmill, which we'll get into that in a second. But that was just to keep my mouth from drying up, getting so bad, cotton mouth. I was so thirsty. I really wanted water. But I knew what I had to do to be able to drop weight and get into a lower weight class. And I go up to the house and I would replenish in between Epsom salt baths, we'll also get into in a second, with Pedialyte. I'd pour me a can full of Pedialyte, swish it around, and just help alleviate some of that dryness and get something down, just a little bit of something. And when you're 2 days out restricting your water, you also need to be restricting your creatine intake. If you are taking creatine daily, 5 grams, 10 grams, whatever it may be, you're gonna wanna stop taking creatine because creatine makes your body wanna hold water, draws in water into your muscles and holds it there. So if you are taking creatine, you wanna stop at least 48 hours before weigh-ins, and that way it'll be easier for your body to drop off a little bit more water weight. After weigh-ins, however, I recommend you load with creatine, about 10 to 15 grams of creatine right after weigh-ins, and then the day of competition, that morning, get another 10, 15 grams of creatine in. And of course, you're gonna be rehydrating after your weigh-ins and before your competition. But if you are loading with creatine, that gives you even more incentive to make sure you're properly rehydrating, because if not, you're going to suffer from muscle cramps. So moving into the other tip, which is the last day when you are doing all this water restriction, you're also doing food restriction. You're not eating anything. You're not having a single bite of nothing.
Look at that. Look at those exposed fucking rib bones. Eat, bitch.
Now, if you're not aggressively weight cutting, you could have something that's probably high in protein, and we're not getting a lot of sodium, not getting a lot of carbs in, it's going to hold a lot of water. But if you are aggressively cutting or trying to really make weight, you're not going to eat anything. You're going to be fasting, all right? You're going to be fasting for around a 36-hour period, the 24-hour the day before weigh-in, and the 12-hour, trying to get in and get weighed in and everything else the next day. So it's going to be about a 36-hour period of just fasting. Another reason you're reducing the amount of food and water you're intaking is because everything you consume, everything that goes in, has to come back out, because if not, you're going to undo all that hard work. You know, when you get back home after doing your little weight cut, you weigh, you make weight, and then you're like, okay, well, I can eat now, and you overeat, overconsume, or gorge yourself on water. You're going to reverse all the hard work you just did, because you just added that much more weight into your body, and now you step back on the scale, it's going to go back up. So with that and these tips in mind, hopefully you can avoid overconsumption. But my next tip is chewing gum. And I was very down bad trying to cut weight. And what I did is I pop in some gum, you know, regular mint flavor, and it would cause me to salivate. Even though I'd already done a lot, you know, lost a lot of water, I was still salivating a little bit. And I'd spit it into an empty water bottle and basically just fill up a bottle of spit, just trying to get every little bit out of me. And to some, this method may seem very unnecessary or even excessive. However, your body generates 30 milliliters of saliva every hour, which is about 1 fluid ounce or 1 ounce of fluid weight every hour. But that means if you're constantly removing your saliva from your body by spitting, you're going to want it removing about 1 ounce every hour, which adds up over 5 hours or even that 12-hour time period, the day of weigh-in. So I usually don't start doing this until the day of weigh-in. And, you know, especially if I'm driving somewhere, I'll be spitting in a cup, you know, when I'm 3-4 hours out from wherever I need to be. So that's a tip. If you're very desperate, hopefully you plan before your meet and won't have to do this. But if you're trying to drop a weight class to outperform in that weight class, that's a good little tip right there. And the last thing I used nutritionally or consumed was diuretics. You know, I'd use something to help soften my stools, to be able to drop some more weight out of my intestine, and also using other diuretics to help me pee and move this fluid out of my body. And these are often utilized early in the day before your weigh-in. You want to go ahead and get all that out of the way and done with. And when you do put yourself in this very dehydrated state and fasted state, your body's going to want to hold on to everything it's got. Your body does not want to excrete anything because it wants to hold on to it and absorb everything it can, because it doesn't know when you'll be able to replenish the fluids it's lost or the calories that's been exerted or burned with food. So when you're in the starvation mode, diuretics really help you to excrete the stuff your body doesn't want to normally excrete. Now, the last few tips is basically the method. The method was coming down here in this gym, cranking on a heater all the way up. We had propane heaters. We'd blast them full. We'd get it damn near 100 degrees down here. And I would run on a treadmill with a trash bag on my first layer. And then I'd have hoodie after hoodie after hoodie, beanie after beanie, sweatpant after sweatpant. I was so layered as almost restricted my movement. And I would just run. I ran so many miles, and obviously it's going to fatigue you the more you have to run and the more weight you have to lose. It isn't that bad if you're just trying to lose, you know, maybe 5 pounds. You can do 5 pounds very manageably and very safely. However, when you're getting up to 15 pounds, it becomes very dangerous, almost where you're playing with your life. So I really encourage you guys to consult a physician or doctor if you decide to go more than 5 pounds on a weight cut, especially if you've never done one before. And I'd also have a buddy or somebody that you can contact or is going to be watching you, because you could fall out or have a medical emergency. And if you don't have anybody checking up on you or watching you, that can be very dangerous. Now, after my cardio sessions, I'd run back up to the house. I'd draw a really warm bath and fill it with Epsom salt to help draw out moisture out of my skin and help me to continue to sweat. So I would rest in between the miles I'd run and go up there and just soak in a hot bath. And this back and forth combo with people that were down here that's tried this before, they usually didn't fast and they would eat, and every time they would throw up during all this. They'd throw up. And I think that really hurt their motivation. So fasting for me has always helped me in this situation rather than hurt me. But if you do eat, do be prepared to experience some nausea. And that usually comes from a very high level of dehydration. And if you want to look into the effects of how dehydration affects your strength or performance in the gym, check this video out above. I did a whole deep dive with PubMed articles on that. And spoiler alert, one of those studies showed that in a span of 2 hours of rehydrating, you can actually mitigate, if not completely negate, all the strength or performance loss you might have endured by being dehydrated. And if you can't draw a warm bath or do not want to do an Epsom salt bath, if your gym has a sauna or you even have a sauna, you can use saunas to help you sweat and keep your body temp up while resting and be able to sweat some. And like I said, you need to consult a physician because you don't want to do too much or do too long, especially if you have underlying health conditions, because it's going to be very dangerous. I can't stress that enough to you guys. This is very dangerous when you lose more than 5 pounds or 5 to 8% of your body weight. I hope this video is information for you guys. And if you have dropped weight before, let me know some tips that I might have not mentioned in this video. Hope you guys have a good morning, a good night whenever watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.